Welcome to episode 4 of the After 29 podcast. I'm Clayton Foster, and I don't know how to feel right now.
I'm Malcolm Davis. I'm very pissed off right now.
Mozzie Boone here, just not understanding what's going on with our system.
Minister V here. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. Let's go in prayer, guys. Eternal Father, we come to you, Lord, with heavy hearts, Lord. We come with confused minds, and we come with more questions than we have answers to, Lord. Lord, we know that you are still in control of all things, Lord, so we ask that you would have your way in every situation that's going on in this world, Lord. Lord, we ask that you would show your might, show your power, Lord. Lord, help us to understand the things that we don't, Lord. Help us to understand our own emotions during this time, Lord. Lord, we pray that you would touch the minds of others, Lord. Lord, we pray that you would heal this land of social injustice, Lord, racism and hatred, Lord, and just anything that is not like you. We just ask that you will have your way, Lord. We ask that you will bless this podcast, Lord, bless this brotherhood, and just, Lord, bless the words that come out of our mouths, Lord. Today is a day, and this is a week, Lord, where we're kind of in our feelings, Lord. If we're being honest, we're in our feelings, Lord. We just pray that you would just help us to just maintain those. And Lord, we just ask that you would just, let your spirit fall down on everything that is said tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So we're going to take a different tone tonight. Usually everything that we've been talking about thus far has been a little bit more, I want to say on the positive side of things, and with what's going on right now, like, it's kind of hard to be in that really good place right now. And some people will say, well, it didn't happen to you specifically. And I'm like, it's not about the fact that it didn't happen to us. And for those that are tuning in and that are unaware of what we're talking about, the name of this episode is called Say Her Name, Breonna Taylor. Mm-hmm. And we will continue to say her name, regardless of what came out in the court case, regardless of what the news pundits report. We are going to continue to say her name because legal, not legal, moral, not moral, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, an innocent life was taken, and no one has to answer for that. Yeah. And it continues to be like that. And this is not only just about, and we say her name, Breonna Taylor, but this is for all the Breonna Taylors out there in the world, all the George Floyds, all the Tamir Rices, all the Eric Garners, all the Sandra Blands out here in the world, that no justice has come on their behalf. And we ask ourselves over and over again, it's the same thing each week and every month and every year. We have to say, damn, something else happened, a new hashtag, a new name, because that's what they see it on TV, a new hashtag and a new name. It's something for them to commercialize. But for us, it's another life taken that didn't have to be.
This is our life, man.
Yeah, it is. So, you know what? Let's jump right in. Reaction around the world, around the nation, when those charges were read off, and the charges were read that no one was responsible. They had the legal right to execute the warrant. The use of force was warranted. And the only charges that were brought were for bullets that missed, that went into another apartment.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Crazy, man. Yeah.
Talk about not yours, not yet, because we're going to get into that. But when you heard about it, the different things that's going on around the world right now, because everybody's reacting to this, whether you agree with the decisions or you don't. The world is reacting right now. What does that say to you that the world is reacting to this particular incident?
I mean, I was very, very upset about it. I mean, I kind of knew it was going to happen once that $12 million settlement came first, and I kind of knew that he was going to get off on it. It's just very, very disappointing that you can lay into your bed doing nothing peacefully and you can get killed. It's just, I'm very, very upset about it.
For me, I don't know. Initially, I think I was like upset, like, bro, it's here we go again. Like, no one's getting taking responsibility for their actions. Because I mean, you think about it. I mean, any other job where you make that many mistakes, you're not gonna be working there. I mean, you're gonna suffer the consequences. But in this case, and over again, no one ever has to pay for mistakes made, and I just don't think that's right.
For me, I mean, just constantly hearing things like this happen over and over again. I mean, I'm getting numb, and matter of fact, not numb, but I'm just getting sick and tired of hearing this. I mean, even though, like, for us, we're not related to her, but I mean, still, she's our sister. And I mean, just hearing that and seeing how they could easily just let 3 cops get away with that and no one be charged for it. I mean, it's crazy. Something has to be done. Something has to be done.
Yeah. So I mean, and I want to be very objective here, but we're not going to take away from what happened, because I don't give a damn about the legality of search warrants or anything like that. The point of the matter of all of this, it all boils down to an innocent life was taken, and they want to take it to every angle that means absolutely nothing, so they don't have to address this young lady's life that was lost. I posted a status on Facebook the other day, and I kid you guys not, I literally was in tears as I typed it, because as I wrote it, I said her name, Breonna Taylor, it belonged on a marriage certificate. It belonged on her child's birth certificate. It belonged on a plaque for Employee of the Month, or it belonged on a gift card that maybe somebody got to her. It didn't belong
on obituary.
Not even obituary. It didn't belong on a hashtag.
Yeah.
Her name did not belong behind a hashtag.
Yeah.
It didn't have to go that way. And I understand. And one of the things I want to bring up right now is the charge that was the only charge for one officer that was filed. Wanton endangerment, because bullets went into, I guess basically they were saying he was careless in his firing.
Some bullshit.
And bullets went into another apartment.
Yeah.
Now here's the funny part about that. Bullets went into 2 apartments at this particular building. It went into one neighbor's house. Bullets entered that apartment recklessly. Mm-hmm. White neighbor. Bullets went into another apartment. Black neighbor. They only filed charges.
What about Breonna Taylor apartment though? They were shooting bullets in that apartment.
But see, they let them off.
Reckless?
They let them off.
I mean, I don't get it. That's why I'm confused.
And we're all confused.
It's crazy.
And now, like I said, let me be objective here. I get it. There was a warrant filed for whatever reason. I get that. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why the warrant was filed. Okay, fine. They had a legal right to issue the warrant in any manner that the judge saw fit. So in this case, it was a no knock. And I get that. Okay, they entered the apartment in the manner that they did. They were fired upon. First off, I don't know if they announced themselves or they didn't. There's too many different reports. The one that says they did announce themselves, and there's another that said they didn't.
It was 12 people that said they didn't identify themselves. One person said they identified themselves.
And I mean, just like you busting in my house and not making yourself known
at midnight.
At midnight. I mean, of course, I'm gonna pull out my gun and I'm gonna protect my family. I mean,
my main question, bro, is if you serving it's a no-knock raid, shouldn't that be the most important time when you're wearing a body cam? Right. And they had no body cams,
body cam.
Yeah, supposedly they had no body cams.
Did they do any surveillance, anything? I mean, how did this happen?
It don't make sense, bro.
I mean, yeah, you're right. There's more questions than there are answers. And like I said, the one thing that they're going to keep holding on is the legality of everything. And one of my questions to that is, at the end of the day, how do you really still justify it? Like, okay, I get it. Like I said, I get it. You're talking about a legal search. You were fired upon. They were justified in their use of force back because they were fired upon. Yep. And let me say this too, because I do understand, especially for my good officers out there, you want to go home just like somebody else wants to go home, at the end of the day. And I totally get that. I'm not saying that no officer should just sacrifice his life because some idiot doesn't want a ticket or some idiot doesn't want to go to jail for something that they did and they were fired upon. I totally get that. But you're talking about a raid at somebody's house at midnight, no less. Okay, so you know what? Forget the time. Forget the time. Forget the circumstances of how they obtained it. Because that's the real question here is, how did y'all get a warrant? Who the hell signed off on this particular warrant in this manner?
Exactly.
That's one question nobody's really asking. You want to know why? Because there's too many answers behind that question if they have to answer that. Mm-hmm. So we stick with, but they were justified. Okay, we got that. After the warrant was issued, what they did during that raid, okay, it was justified. It was legal. Doesn't make it right, but it was legal. We get that part.
I just don't understand. If the boyfriend fired upon them, they shot 36 times, and sense. Nobody hit the boyfriend, but Breonna Taylor gets 6 bullets in her, in her own bed. Yeah. Somebody explained that to me.
Yeah. I mean, because like I thought, like, you know, for cops, like you are trained to shoot,
they're supposed to be trained as marksmen.
Yeah, it just seemed like they were
SWAT team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were just firing with their eyes closed or something like that.
And when you think if they're serving a warrant or like it's a no-knock raid, when you think they would have the best marksman going in, or like, so how can you shoot that many times and miss the person who shot once and hit an officer? So like, and the thing for me, man, it's just the discrepancies. Like, I had a hard time. Like, I was trying to, get a little bit of data, do a little bit of research, but bro, I had to like just step back from it, bro. I don't even have like a quarter page of notes here, bro, because I just had to step away from it. Like, my thing with discrepancies are like how one thing I saw where they said there was no forced entry and they knocked. My 2 questions would be on that is, if you have a no-knock raid, why would you knock? And then on top of that, if you say there was no forced entry, why do they say they have people who have video and photos of them using a battering ram? So if there was no forced entry, how did they have pictures of you using a battering ram? Right.
And my thing with that is, why lie about that? Because if it's legal, if it's quote unquote legal during a no-knock raid, you will use excessive force to let yourself in. Right. You will use what do they call those things that knocks into the door? Yeah, they will use those, or they will use any means to get into this apartment as safely and as quickly as possible. And part of those raids is to catch them by surprise, because you're going in there, you're not going to give nobody time to run or whatever the case may be.
And to catch more than one person. There's 2 people at the house. Why is it
neither of these 2 people were named on the warrant,
right?
So
the one thing I want to say that really pissed me off the most about the $12 million settlement is that it's just it makes me feel like our lives don't matter at all. Like, oh, I can throw money at this person and like, oh, I know we killed like your family member. Here's money, take it. You'll get over it. I mean,
my thing is too, like, it didn't come from out of the police force money, and they have one of the biggest unions in the U.S. and they're so protected. Yep. Like, that $12 million came out of the public's pocket.
Right. Yep. Taxpayers.
That came from the taxpayers. Yeah. So even with that, even when they are justified in killing someone, with the carelessness that they go into the situation with, they know that they're not going to pay from a legal standpoint. Where, I mean, the dude I saw, the most he can probably get from the charges is like 5 years.
Oh, he won't get 5 years.
And then on top of that, the actual department, they don't have to pay. It doesn't come out of their pockets.
So hold on one second. Let's because we're gonna come back to that, because there's a whole deal there with that whole $12 million there. That says it's a slap in the face. Oh, some people looking at, but it's $12 million. It's a slap in the face. Mm-hmm. But so right after they announced those charges, they was already gearing up for, first of all, before they announced the charges, they was already gearing up for protesters. Mm-hmm. The state already went into a state of emergency, called on by the governor, prior to the charges being read that day. Actually the day before, I believe. So they were already preparing. They already knew what was going to happen. Personally, I think they already knew this once the Once they gave the family that $12 million, they already knew what the charges were. They already knew the charges were going to be pretty much dropped.
Here's my thing with it. She wanted. They gave the family $12 million for wrongful death, but nobody got charged for killing anybody for wrongful death.
Yeah.
But nobody's getting charged for murder. Not even a manslaughter charge. Right. I mean, I don't understand.
Right. So right after that, hold on. Like I said, we're gonna come back to that $12 million. So we're going to come back to that. So like I said, one of the things that happened right after that during the protest that night is 2 officers got shot. 2 officers were shot by, allegedly by some, was it a black guy?
Yeah, black guy. Yeah.
Well, hell, that doesn't even make any difference. 2 officers got shot that night after the protest. So my question is, do you think people are finally, because we've talked about this before about, people are starting to get mad and angry. They might start taking things into their own hands. And of course, people say, oh, well, it shouldn't go that far. I'm like, well, we shouldn't be this far on what's going on. We shouldn't be here, but yet we are.
Right.
So what's stopping people from getting so fed up? So do you think that people have gotten so fed up now that is this case here the catalyst for what's to come next?
I think more is to come. I mean, I don't like to speak negative or whatnot, but I feel like we have not hit that point yet. I feel like things are something going to be worse than this that I guess will finally get everybody's attention. I mean, I don't get it.
I don't know if it can get worse or if it will get worse, but I mean my view on it is I don't know if this is a catalyst for change really, because it's really starting to become the normal thing. People,
right. Well, no.
It's been that way.
Well, no, not the catalyst for change. The catalyst for people are going to start taking matters into their own hands,
right.
And they're going to start killing, and things like that.
But I mean, honestly, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but it just seemed like it's just a normal thing for us. Like, another black person got killed. Oh well, let me go about my day. And I mean, it shouldn't be like that. But
I mean, I don't know. I hope that we don't fight evil with evil. I hope that people don't go out there and start killing other people. But I mean, I don't know. I understand the frustration. I'm mad too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't know. I would hope not. And
I don't know if it gets to like vigilante status. I don't know if I see that happening, because people understand, even if you take the matters in your own hands, you start taking lives of police officers or AGs or whatever that would be, you're still not going to be protected or justified. They're still going to be protected regardless. Right. I mean, what is that going to change if it goes that way?
Right. And I mean, we've done things peacefully for so long. I mean, you're forcing our hand. And I'm not saying I don't condone go over here and shoot a police officer, but it's just like, what do we have to do to get our point across? Like,
yeah, so, and that's the point that, and let us reiterate that we do not promote, we do not condone violence. What we are saying is that as people are getting to that point where we're starting to get frustrated, that we understand it. We don't condone it, we don't promote it, but we're starting to understand it to a degree. And one of the things that, as Mazio just said, is that we know it's not the answer. Let's just put that out. We know it's not the answer, but objectively speaking, do you think it may be necessary? And like Malcolm said, he hopes that we don't go that far, or that we don't get to that point. But Mazio just said, we've protested peacefully, we've marched, we do go out and we vote, we make our voices heard in the most legal, peaceful manner, and yet it gets us absolutely nowhere. Some people will say, oh no, we are chipping away at change. I'm like, no, we're being pacified. There's a difference between being heard and being pacified, and I feel like we're being pacified. Any little edge that we so-called make or get or whatever, I don't really think we're moving forward. I think we're being pandered to. I think we're being pacified. I think we're being shut up and we're being quieted, so that, you know what, let's just give them a little bit, just enough so that they be quiet, or they feel like they got something.
Well, honestly, bro, I think if this situation was not televised or such a high profile case, the family probably wouldn't have got $12 million, and the cops still would have gotten off, and no one would have had to pay out anything. I think the only reason that it turned out the way it did, where they got compensation, was just because everyone was already up in arms about it, because it was televised. So I just think about like all the cases like this that slide under the radar that we don't see, where they don't pay, or and the cops definitely still don't have to pay for their mistakes. So I don't know, bro.
Right. And I mean, I know, and I'm kind of piggybacking on to our previous episode talking about black fathers. I mean, this is the one thing that scares me the most. You can be an innocent bystander, and especially for being black, and you can not do anything wrong. You could go about living your life peacefully, and yet still you can get gunned down by a police officer for no reason.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what Mazio was saying is, one thing I've heard people argue is like, you have to be conscious of the company that you keep, saying that if she never messed around with her ex-boyfriend or whatever, never been involved with him,
But that's
this
not her
wouldn't
fault.
happen. That's my thing. Like, I thought about it at first. I'm like, okay, that's a valid point, because us as men, we're always told choose your friends wisely because your friends' actions can affect your life. I agree with that, but at the same time, just looking at just some of the like facts and videos of like the boyfriend that she has now, the guy that actually shot at the police, like on paper, he seemed like a pretty good dude. He had no criminal offenses.
Right.
He was a legal gun owner. So, I mean, I'm a country boy. I support 2A. I mean, I'm about having weapons to protect yourself. So, she made a change. Yeah, she may have made a mistake in the past and dated a guy who was not, upstanding citizen. But on paper, the guy that she was with at the time seemed like a model citizen, and he was just exercising his right to bear arms. So I don't think that people can justify saying that she chose wrong in the past. It seemed like she was trying to move forward and make a better decision and choose a better mate, just on what we can see. I don't know the guy, but what I can see is from the little bit of data that I've seen on him, he seemed like a upstanding man.
So one of the things that, and I don't agree, but so one question that did come up about the current boyfriend at the time when all of this went down was that they said regardless of the warrant, right? So you have the warrant, cops enter the apartment. They said maybe if he hadn't shot at the cops, maybe she would still be living.
But we don't know that.
Hold on. Let me ask the question though. So the question is that somebody asked was that, do you feel that maybe even in the smallest way does he bear some of the responsibility for her death?
No. Absolutely not. I mean, we don't know if she would have been alive or not. Absolutely not. If somebody busted through my door at 12 o'clock, I'm going to shoot too. Right. I'm going to shoot first, ask questions second. Her mistakes in the past shouldn't have cost her life. Right. I don't care. Nobody mistake should have cost her life for her life.
Right.
But no way.
Yeah. And that's one thing that, like, I think about too, is like how her boyfriend feels. I wonder if that's a question that he may have had. Like, I know that's a traumatizing situation. I mean, I assumed that he loved her. Think about like her being taken away from him in that manner, and he was just trying to protect her.
Right.
Yeah. And I wonder if that thought crossed his head. If I have never fired that shot, maybe she'll still be here. And I hope he doesn't carry that guilt, thinking that he caused her murder.
Right. And I mean, we don't really know, because I mean, say for example he didn't fire. We don't know what was on the police officer's mind. They could have been like gun ho and like, okay, I'm gonna bust through the door and just bust, and shoot everybody. I mean, we don't know. So it's just a very sticky situation. I mean, it's just
I mean, what if all day, but the situation turned out the way it turned out.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, like Clay said, one of the things that, like I said, I asked the question only because it was something that it did come up in a lot of articles and a lot of in the media. It was asked. Right. My thoughts on that are, no, I do not think this man bears any responsibility whatsoever, and I could only about imagine that he does ask himself this question, like, well, you know what, man, you in hindsight you start looking at things a little bit differently, like, man, I wish I never did that. Maybe if I hadn't, you start with all the shoulda, woulda, couldas or what ifs and things like that. And I pray to God that no, he doesn't carry that guilt or anything like that, or even like a survivor's guilt. Because if I'm the one who shot at cops and they start shooting back, the thought in my mind is that I'm getting ready to die, not no one else around me.
Exactly.
And but do I think he bears any responsibility? No. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you like this: you walk in my house at any time, and anybody that's been to my house and my family knows this. I keep guns at the house, and my guns stay loaded, not because I'm some crazy maniac like all these other fools out here, doing silly things, but I do carry guns. And I'm likely, I believe in the Second Amendment. I do believe the right to bear arms, not to be crazy, but to protect myself, and because we have that right and that privilege. So yeah, I don't care if you bust in my house, my first thought is protect me and mine.
Yep.
So and I got a 12 gauge shotgun, and I got an AR-15. My thoughts, if you bust into my house, especially at midnight, the first thing I'm going to think is, oh my God, it's not going to be, oh my God, it's the cops, I better cooperate.
Right.
No, that's not going to be my first thought. No. My first thought is that some fool just busted into my house. I need to protect myself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let off a whole 30 clip, and then I'll ask questions later.
Right.
I don't care if I hit an officer or if I hit somebody's 16-year-old child who's breaking into my house. Right. My first thought is to protect myself, and my heart goes out to this guy, the boyfriend, because at the end of the day, he was just trying to protect this young lady.
Yep.
And there's a part of him, I bet you, that feels like I failed her.
Right. And my another question I had, just looking over like the case. Okay, so they had a no-knock warrant, whatever, and they did it like around midnight. Like, how come like the high-profile criminal cases, like when Cohen got arrested and stuff, when they go to his house to get him, they don't go in there ready to shoot someone, and he can afford all the guns in the world. So why is it like in areas like this they're ready to kill someone, ready to bust shots into the home and the neighboring apartments? So how come it's not the same? I don't know. How come it's not the same gusto when it comes to like the higher profile, richer people who get taken away to jail?
Because their lives matter, and and for the most part, I'm just going to be blunt about it. Their lives matter, and ours don't.
Yep.
They don't. First off, they don't see us as we have no value whatsoever. We might as well be a broken piece of a limb off of a tree that just happened to just fall off. What you do, you step over it and you keep going, or you kick it to the side. That's the amount of value our lives has to a lot of people. When they come into our neighborhoods, and like I said, I'm not disputing a warrant or anything like that. If it was obtained legally, do your job or whatever. But as you said, you don't go into one of these rich neighborhoods. Hell, they get escorted out almost in limo style. They get escorted out and treated well. Probably stop by the drive-thru, get something to eat. You need some water and things like that. I mean, think about Dylan Roof. He killed all those people at the church. They gave this boy water. Made sure he was okay.
Took him to Burger King. He's sitting there wielding a I think he had an AR-15.
I believe so. He did.
And I mean, all they was worried about was his welfare.
Breonna Taylor's boyfriend had a 9mm.
Yeah, what's their training, man? They are trained to treat people of color aggressively. That's
because they see us as animals.
Right. Exactly.
And let me say this: when I say them or they, I'm not saying them or they as in white people. So to my non-blacks, especially to my white listeners, that's not who we're talking about. We're talking about the people who do not value the lives of others, who do not value black lives and Asian lives and any other lives other than themselves. Because I do know that there's a lot of our whites and our non-blacks who are allies. They stand up, they fight the cause just like we do. So I'm going to distinguish that. But I'm talking about these that literally just don't see value when they see a black life. We might as well be an empty case to them.
And I was looking at like doing a comparison on like, how police raiding and everything like that. And I sent Clayton this video, but it was a white guy. I think he kidnapped a kid or something like that, and he had an actual standoff with the cops.
Yeah,
he was firing and everything like that. And when they brought him out of his house, I mean, it was like he was pretty. I mean, they treated him like luxury. They like carried him outside. They put his shoes on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking to him. Someone gave him a hug, and I'm like, what is this? Because if it was a black man, we'd have probably got shot.
It's in the training. I'm telling you, man. They are trained to treat people of color more aggressively.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
it has to.
Like I said, we have no value. We have no value in the eyes of some others. You know, so even as simple as a case like George Floyd, come on, a voided check, and the man lost his life. Y'all couldn't just detain the man. Clearly, he had no. Even now, did y'all?
He lost his life over $20.
Yeah. $20. I don't care if it was $2 million. It's still money. You know, it was a bad check. You know, allegedly. I don't know the details of that, but at the end of the day, even let's just say he went around town all that day writing bad checks. Does that justify losing his life?
No.
Bernie Madoff stole billions of dollars,
Right.
And they put him in a luxury prison.
Yeah.
and he's sitting up
bro.
in prison right now.
Right.
He didn't die.
No.
And I mean, for George Floyd, I mean, that's uncalled for. And on top of that, the man was on the ground. You heard him pleading for his life. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what more do you have to do, or what more do you have to say to listen? I mean, the guy had the police officer had his knee on the guy's neck.
Yeah.
And he was in handcuffs. What is he going to do? How's he going to get away? I mean, that doesn't make sense.
They told us, well, he was resistant. He's in handcuffs. How am I resisting? And there's none, and I'm not saying you can't still have some measure to subdue him, but to that extent, you know. But I don't even want to get into all that with George Floyd right now because right now we're going to continue to say her name.
Yeah, and back to Breonna Taylor, man. Like, I think the most disheartening thing to me is I think they didn't expect this to be such a nationwide uproar,
Right.
because even just looking at how the police reports were filled out in the beginning, how they, I think I touched on it earlier when they were saying there was no forced entry, but they were seen using a battering ram. And then the one that really blew my mind was they listed her as not having any injuries on her police report, and she was already dead.
Right.
So I think they thought they could brush this, another one they could brush under the rug, and somebody messed up and they just tried to cover it up from the start, and they didn't expect it to blow up like this.
No. And then it blew up. It got all the attention, and, got all this commercialization and things like that, and then as an insult, they gave the family $12 million. Now, even in the smallest way, was that justice, or was that any form of justice, or was it just a pacifier?
Not at all.
$12 million isn't worth her life.
Exactly.
I guess any one of her family members would rather have her as opposed to $12 million.
Yeah.
$12 million is nothing, man. Like, it's crazy, man.
And my thing too, man, I was watching an interview with her neighbor, and she said, and the interviewer asked her if anyone from the Louisville Metro Police Department came and got a statement from her, and she's like, no, the only people who came and asked me for a recount of what happened was the FBI. So my thing is, if you had no interest in interviewing, finding out, investigating, talking to her neighbors, because it's an apartment, so it's not like it was your next door neighbor's house. It's an apartment, so your neighbors can pretty much see and hear what's going on.
Everything.
So why isn't the police department investigating deeply into it to find out what really happened? It's because they were going to just cover it up anyway, because they knew they messed up. And it's just the lies are just elementary, bro. Because the things don't add up. The police reports don't add up. They never wanted to investigate it anyway, because they knew they could cover it up and everyone was going to get a little slap on the wrist.
Because in America, it's two justice systems. It's a justice system for the blacks, and it's a justice system for the whites.
Right.
And that's just what it is, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said again, that was the one thing that pissed me off the most. Is you're giving me money because you took my daughter's life or my granddaughter's life or whatever. I mean, what is it? It's stupid.
It was a pacifier.
Mm-hmm.
This was, what, if we do this, maybe not only the family, but maybe the black community will maybe this will calm them down a little bit. Maybe this will stop the protests. Maybe they won't want so much of all this change, because you know what? we just gave that family $12 million. I mean, what more do y'all want?
Yeah. But
you know, what else do y'all want? We gave y'all $12 million for, you know, for killing her. Oops, our bad.
But I mean, the thing.
But now
is,
the family's rich.
It should come to the point where you actually, as a human being, think about it. Like, well, you know, if the shoe was on the other foot, would I want $12 million or would I want justice for what happened? I mean, money's not going. I mean, money's not going to change anything. Money's not going to bring her back.
No.
So,
and that just goes to show you, and you know, there'll be some that will debate this and say, well, no, her life did matter. That's why they gave her. That's why they gave them $12 million. And I was like, first of all, life, anything that can be bought again. Mm-hmm. Life cannot be bought. It can't be purchased, and it can't be repurchased. Once life is over, life is over. You can't buy her life again. I don't care if they would have gave the family $12 billion.
Right.
You know, yeah, they're financially set, and I get that, you know, depending on what they decide to do with that money. But it's still a slap in the face. You're saying to me that her life was only worth $12 million. Right. First of all, you can't pay for her life. Right. Life is priceless and it's precious.
Yep.
So my question is, man, so that I don't know, this just came to my mind, like, because I just been thinking about like how the case turned out. But my question, if the cops were convicted of murder or what have you, like, is that a victory? Is she still not gonna be here? Her family's still not gonna have her. Yeah, he was convicted for killing her, but what does it solve?
Well, I think it has set the precedence for any other future cases if we actually convict one of these officers for doing these injustices. I mean, and that's what I think. Had they convicted, those officers should at least have been charged with manslaughter. Mm-hmm. At least manslaughter.
And my thing is, going to what you were asking, Clayton, is that it might not solve anything, but they make an example out of us. So for them to do this, we need to make an example out of them. So that way, like Malcolm saying, in the future, like cops or whatever people that want to become cops, they be like, you know what, if I do something like this, I'm gonna face a hard sentence.
Exactly.
So
right now they just doing stuff without any penalties, right?
Yeah, and they keep the reason it keeps happening because there are no consequences whatsoever with, you know, any of these cases, whether it was a wrongful death or whether it was excessive force or anything like that. Like, so like you ask, like, would it have made a difference? To me, it would have made it wouldn't have made a big difference, but it would have been at least it would have been chipping away at a small, what we want or what we would see as a victory, because, like I said, it would set a precedent. Now, the only thing about that is, will the rest of the nation follow? Because each state does have the right to say, well, I don't give a damn what they did in Kentucky. Here, it's justified. You know, unless it was going to ever, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, but now, had it not been, and they would have convicted these cops, or for ending this young lady's life, it would give us a small victory. Is it justice? I still don't see it as justice. And I don't think in a case of murder, there is a such thing as justice. I don't even think bringing the killers to court and convicting them and giving them life, it's still not justice, because you cannot replace the life.
And I understand that.
There's no retribution there.
I understand that, but then how is it not justice? Because this person won't be able to go out here and play with their kids or enjoy their freedom. I mean, if they're going to take our life, then lock them up for life.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a victory, but what I'm saying is, can we truly in our hearts call it true justice? Because at the end of the day, what I would truly want as justice is, I want my family member back. I want my girlfriend back, my sister. That's what we want.
I get that, but that's the closest thing to having her back.
I mean, I get that.
It's that, and I agree with Majo. That's justice. Unless you want to do like Old Testament kind of justice, eye for an eye. I don't think they're doing that anymore. But I agree with Mazel.
I totally agree too. I'm just saying, like in my heart, when my emotions get involved with it, I'm like, is it truly justice? I mean, I would be so happy to see like that this person has to pay for what they did, and I hope that it would continue on. Like it would be a new wave started. That when that happens, literally, every time it happens, people are held responsible for it, especially in a case where it shouldn't have happened. And now there are cases where it is warranted. People were asking for it, but we've seen when it comes, especially with most of us, we weren't really asking for it. We weren't resisting. We were complying. We had no weapons. You got called for a traffic stop or some cigarettes or something like that, and you still died.
Right. Or eating ice cream in your living room.
Exactly. Or reading a book in your car,
jogging, looking at empty vacant homes,
or going to get Skittles, from the store, or playing with a toy gun.
Exactly, man.
So.
And I want to say this. I mean, like, I know there's good cops out there, and I respect them for doing the right thing. But it's just like, it's like this. The situation is like, a little kid going to a store stealing candy, and all they get is a slap on the wrist, and they just keep doing it over and over again because they know that's the only punishment they're going to get. Right. So it's like these people that are racist, or they say, oh, well, I could get a field day for killing a black person. Let me go out here and do this and kill somebody, or kill a black African American, and the only thing that's going to happen, I'm going to get a slap on the wrist, and I can do it again and again, or more people just come in, and it's becoming a trend. And I mean, something needs to be done about that. So
yeah. And at what point is enough? So I want y'all, when we all heard the verdict, we all read it, whatever the case may be. What was your personal emotions? What was your personal feeling when you heard that? Now, I was on the phone with Clay when, those charges were being read. So, and I know how we reacted. I think we called Mazio right behind that, but tell me in your words, what did you feel? How did it affect you personally? Forget about the nation. Forget about what everybody thinks you should feel. What did you really feel in that moment when you heard about that?
Man, I was hurt. I was upset. I mean, this could have been my wife. My wife's name is Breonna. I mean, it could have been my wife. It could have been my daughter. It could have been my sister. It could have been my mother. It could have been anybody. And I'm just upset, man. I don't know how to explain how I'm feeling at this moment, but I'm very, very upset about this judgment.
I don't know. Initially, I wasn't upset. Initially, I was like, that's to be expected. Yeah. And I didn't really feel like any emotion tied to it until I started to dig deeper into what happened, and started really looking into the facts. And that's when I was really like, man, this is really disappointing and just sad, bro.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was pissed off by it because, I mean, me being a father, and for some of us being fathers in here, it just makes me think about my own kids. I mean, Breonna Taylor was a daughter to someone, or a granddaughter to someone, or an aunt, or sister or something. Yeah,
bro, she was an EMT, man, and trying to good job. She was helping people.
Exactly. Yeah. So for her life to be taken like that was uncalled for. So yeah, I was pissed off by it. And I mean, just the whole settlement thing was just that was just
some bullshit. Go ahead and say it.
It really was, man. It really was. I mean, it just makes me feel really sad because it's like, Black Lives Matter and we're doing all this protesting, but yet and still nothing's happening. I mean, we're still getting shot in the streets, and we're supposed to turn a blind eye to it. Nah, something needs to be done. We need to take a stand. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of I'm just constantly talking, but it made me think about what Malcolm said when we were talking about had the voting episode. If we want to do something, we need to go to the polls and vote. I mean, that's the key thing we need to do.
That's the only thing big changes are going to happen is through legislation. We got to get the right people in there.
Right.
I don't want to hear no black person or any person of color saying that they won't vote don't count. I don't want to hear it anymore. Right. Get to the polls. You have no excuse, or things like this is going to keep happening.
Right. Yeah, most definitely. And I was on the phone with you boys when this happened. Y'all could hear. Yeah. We were all at work.
Yeah.
We were at work, and at that moment, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't really care about work at the moment. I know Clay said it took him a minute to react. He hadn't processed it yet. Mazio, I know you said you were PO'd. Y'all could hear the hurt in my voice. I was pissed off.
Yeah.
The anger set in first because I was like, you know what? Here we go again with this. No justice at all. Like we have no value. And I know we have value. But once I got over the anger, I kid you not, the hurt set in. I'm gonna be frank with y'all, bro. I wanted to cry. And I wanted to cry not just for Breonna, but I wanted to cry for all the other Breonnas and all the George Floyds out here in the world. Because at what point in time is enough enough?
Right.
At what point in time does our lives have value? At what point in time does our lives matter? When do we matter? When do we get some justice here? Because if we continue on the path that we're going to be devalued more and more to a point where it's going to be just like how it was during slavery. We weren't even considered a whole person.
We won't. We was property.
Dogs get treated better than we do. You get more time for killing a dog than you do for killing a black person. Right. Hell, most of the time you don't even get time. You get a slap on the wrist and say, "Don't do that again." Right. So like I said, I was hurt, and I've been thinking about her ever since this whole thing happened. Because it stayed on our minds. It stayed in the news and things like that. And I thank God that it's got the attention. I wish every case got the attention like this, but we know that not every case is going to get the attention. Right. But I'm telling you, even though it's been on my mind this whole time, I was sad, man. Right. Like, I was hurt because it wasn't so much about her. It could be one of you boys. It could be me. It could be my kid. It could be your kids, your sisters, any one of them. Yeah. And I was like, we got a tight knit group. Our families. We're cool with each other's families. Like, it would kill me if anything happened to one of y'all family members or one of y'all or even my own. Yeah. And I don't want to see anything happen like that. And I hate that soon as something like that happens, they try to diminish the character of the victim. What the hell does their criminal background have to do with anything? Or their past relationships or whatever? Right. Hell, we've all had bad relationships. Right. I mean, look at Trump.
I had a
he is a bad relationship
for America.
And you saying that, man, just to expound on that, like, that is, like, it's always jacked up how even with, like, George Floyd, anyone who is wrongfully killed, they try to justify it by saying, well, they did this in the past. And look, they do that on the police officers sometimes, but it doesn't follow through with the verdicts that go by. Because, like, that was one thing I looked at today. It was talking about, like, when the officers had like 109 pages on them of just like crazy investigations and things like that. But this man still works. You know what they'll say?
Yeah. Well, judge him on how he is today. I'm like, well, do the same for us.
Right. Exactly. So how can you have that many investigations and write-ups and things, and you still have your job, man?
Right. I couldn't do it at mine.
Any job that I've ever had, if I messed up that much, how can I still be employed by this job, bro?
Right. Yeah. The guy that was on George Floyd's neck, he had 16 complaints.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy.
And you can just go to another district and you still got a job, bro. Your past doesn't affect you being able to wear that badge and that gun. But when it comes to us getting killed, our past matters.
Yeah. And I guess the way I look at it as, how can you, you judge my character from my past and whatnot. That's something simple, like a dumb mistake that I made. What gives you the right to judge me? Because, what have you done? Have you put your skeletons out there? You want to sit up here and put mine out there, then put yours out there.
Not only that, if you want to bring up my past and say, oh, well, this happened to him today because of, he was like this in the past. Well, you know what? Then maybe you should have got me in my past.
Exactly.
Right? Maybe it would have made a little bit more sense had this happened to me when I was out there doing something stupid.
Right.
But we're talking about the incident that happens today.
Right.
And I wasn't doing anything stupid today.
Right.
And so where's the justification for how I was treated and manhandled and tased and your knee on my neck or a chokehold or bullets or anything like that? How does that justify what happened today? Don't tell me nothing about my past, because my past is just that. It's my past.
Right.
And then, like I said, and if you want that to be justified, then you need to go and arrest me or whatever in my past.
Right.
And then they want to quickly come out and say, oh, well, this person's changed. If it was someone white or whatever. But then, what, we can't change? Like,
no, it's not even about change. It's not even about change. It's just how they view you.
Yeah, that's how they view us.
You have no value. You have no value. You have no worth. Forget your life.
Yeah, and even to piggyback on one thing you said earlier, I got off on a tangent and forgot to even touch on it. How you were saying that like we weren't considered on paper during slavery as a whole person.
3/5. Yeah, the 3/5.
We're property.
Yeah, so I mean, even now, it's not on paper that we're not a whole person,
Right.
but by actions and the way that we're treated, it's still the same.
Right.
We're still not considered human like everyone else, and our lives can just be taken away, no consequence. It doesn't even matter. So,
Right.
what's the difference? It's just not written down anymore.
Oh, we know that slavery didn't end or anything like that. It just transformed.
Yeah.
It transformed in new ways. And here's my thing, like when it comes to officers and things like that, and we all know there's lots of good officers out here who do their jobs. They do protect and serve everyone equally. And don't get me wrong, if you fire on them, they do have a right to fire back because they deserve to go home, just like you and I do. And I know we have some friends, to officers and things. We have some friends that are officers and things. We have some, and I know some. I have got some family members that are officers, so I understand they want to come home just like anybody else does. I get that. What I want people to stop doing, because it irritates the hell out of me. First off, stop saying blue lives matter. Blue is not a life; it's a damn occupation.
Right.
And if you're afraid to do your job properly with the training that you receive, quit and go be a bag boy at a supermarket.
Right.
But blue is not a life. Black is a life. Caucasian is a life. Hispanic, Asian, those are lives. That is living flesh. You chose to be a cop. You did not choose to wake up one day and just say, you know what, I'm black today. You know what, I'm going to try my hand at being black. Don't get me wrong. Some have tried that.
Yeah, Rachel Dolan's all,
but
chose to be black.
But in all seriousness, like I said, and I'm not taking anything away from cops because I respect their profession. Because first, I don't have it in me to do it.
Right.
I'm not putting my life at risk to serve a ticket. It's not that serious to me. I'm like, you know what? If the fool wants to speed, let him speed.
Right.
He'll kill himself eventually. Or whatever. I'm just joking when I say that. But no, I would never do the profession. I respect that profession. But what I want to say to the good cops out here is that you can't keep riding this whole "I'm a good cop" routine no more. I'm sorry, though. That day has died and gone. And if you are a good cop, you gotta speak up.
Yep.
And you gotta take action. But hiding behind this whole, and some people will tell me, well, my husband is a good cop. So damn what? What is he doing or she doing to affect change? Are they speaking out against these bad cops? Because I'm gonna tell you what's going to end up happening if we don't get this under control. People are going to start taking things into their own hands. People are going to start taking arms and taking justice and revenge in their own hands. And you know what's going to happen? You know what you can't do when you see a good cop? You can't look at a good cop and tell the difference between a good one and a bad one.
Right.
So when a person who's pissed off and angry and hurt says, I want to go out here and I want to get revenge, there's no badge on your chest that says, oh, wait, I'm one of the good ones. They don't care. And if good cops don't start standing up to these bad cops, these bad cops are going to get y'all good cops killed because you won't stand up and you're afraid because y'all have a brotherhood and a sisterhood. Is that brotherhood and sisterhood worth your life? No, it's not. Do your job. You got in this profession because you wanted to protect and serve. Do that and stop murdering and damn harassing.
Right.
That's what I'll say on that.
And I always say, just like cops want to go home to their kids, we want to come home to our kids too. I shouldn't have to fear for my life every time a police officer stop me and pull me over.
Right.
You want to give me a ticket? Give me a ticket.
Give me a ticket. Let me go home peacefully. You don't have to search me every time you pull me over. You ain't got to search my car every time. You don't have to harass me. I'm okay with you writing me a ticket. I'll take care of it in court. I get me a good attorney and we'll talk about it.
Right.
Just do your job. That's all we asking you guys to do. Do your job for everyone.
Treat us like you treat everybody else when you pull them. And that's a crazy thing, man. That like a lot of people, I don't think they understand. But with us, when we get pulled over for something super simple, like
we think the worst.
We can't talk back and cuss the cops out. Like I've seen many people do. I'm like, bro, like you don't know what kind of privilege that is that you feel bold enough and know that you won't die. You can cuss a cop out.
we look at that with our mouths wide open, like,
yeah, that's like when you see kids in the grocery store cussing the parents out, like, bro, no, I can't do that to my mom. That's the same sentiment that's exponentially multiplied on us interacting with police. Right. We can't do what y'all do.
No.
And it was like that video that you sent me. I think it was like last week or the week before last. It was a white police officer, and it was a white guy. The guy got in, was it the police officer's car? Or no, he got in his own vehicle, drove around, hit the police vehicle like 2 or 3 times, and yet nothing happened.
I've seen and heard some incident. I've seen some videos on Facebook.
Didn't he beat the cop up?
Oh yeah, he beat the cop up.
I saw which we could never get away with, but there was an officer that pulled over a gentleman, a white guy, and he told him, "I'm not letting you arrest me today."
Yeah.
I always thought the guy was like in like a library.
Yeah, something like that. He said, "I'm not letting you arrest me," as if he had a choice. Right. And it worked out for him.
One of us did that. It would have 10 cop cars.
No, we wouldn't have 10 cop cars. We would have 10 bullets in us simply because we said we're not going to jail today.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, at the end of the day, at what point is enough? Because I hope and I pray all the time that I was like, I see where this is going, but I know that God is still in control of all things.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that because God is still in control of all things, there is hope. Something has to be done before we get to a place where people get, pretty much before they start acting on pure emotion.
All right.
I mean, because I know how I felt. Like I told you guys, I was hurt. I wanted to cry. I cried when I wrote that status on Facebook because I felt like us as a nation, we failed Breonna Taylor.
No.
We failed all these other people. And I'm not even talking about just the black ones, anybody that loses their life, unwarrantedly. It's not right. We failed them. We failed them in so many ways as a nation. I want to die in my sleep when I'm old. Not because I went to the store and my card declined and maybe the clerk thought I was trying to cheat them. I don't want to die because of it. I shouldn't have to. Right. I shouldn't die because I decided to do 75 in a 55-mile zone just because a cop pulled me over. We're failing our people. And when I say us, I mean the nation is failing its citizens big time. But the other part of that is it's failing a certain one of its citizens more so than others.
They never thought we was real citizens in the first place. So no. I guess we still not.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, we got to close it out, but I mean, man, what's on y'all minds as we close out? Like, just say what you got to say. Like I said, man, we're all still riding off emotion, man, because it could have easily been one of us.
Yep.
It could have been somebody we love.
I would say this. In order for us to have real change in America, we have to have a conversation about race. If you are a person of color, you have to get to the polls. We have to do our research, and we have to get the right people in the office. That's the only way things going to change is through legislation. And if you want police reform, we have to get to the polls, and we have to get the people in there to push our agenda.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say about the situation. I think it's just been ongoing for such a long time. And Malcolm really said it all. We need to exercise our right to vote. Because, I mean, those that came before us fought for that right. So I guess it's just our turn to fight for some justice in the judicial system. And the only way we can do that, because obviously our hands are tied in any other way, because everyone else is so protected by their actions. That's all we got, man, is voting and just standing up, taking a stand, and not letting this continue.
Right. The one thing I will say is that we no longer, as African Americans, as people of color, as even Caucasians, I mean, just us as a whole, we no longer need to turn this a blind eye. We have to stand in this together. We're all human beings. I mean, like Malcolm said, get in the polls and vote. I mean, that's where it counts. Another thing I guess that is crossed my mind, which is I wonder if people, since they displayed Breonna Taylor's past, are they judging her on her past or on what she did? Like, she was an EMT, she's helped save people's lives, and I'm hoping that they're looking at her for helping, like, you know, for her what she was doing recently, saving people's lives instead of her past. You know, everybody has a past. I mean, there's people that have done stuff that they're not proud of, even myself.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't make people like look at you and say like, yo, this person's still that same way. I've changed. Everybody changes. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I mean, as we close out, I want to address my non-black, most specifically my white brothers and sisters, and especially the ones we consider in this fight for justice, social justice, and equality, you know, and fairness. We call them allies. I have a plea that I would like to make to them. You can't say, "Oh, well, I love you this and love you that," because I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I know we have some white friends and colleagues and things like that we know they care about us. Mm-hmm. They're not that type. Mm-hmm. They care about us, they love us, you know, and they feel for the cause. But I'm making a plea to them now. If you really truly love your black friends and things like that the way you say you do, like I said about good cops, you can't hide behind the, "Oh, well, I'm not racist, or I'm not this," and I applaud you for that, because that means you have love in your heart, and I love that about you. You know, then there are so many of them that we know that you can't continue to just hide behind, "I'm a good one." That doesn't work anymore. Being good is not enough. You gotta go out, you gotta speak out, you gotta say something. Because not saying anything is almost like allowing the ones that, it's like almost allowing the ones that do what they do or say what they say. I don't care if it's your family member or your friends or whatever, you know, to my Caucasian family, call them out on it. You have to. Yep. You cannot normalize this behavior anymore. And honestly, look, when we say something against it, it means nothing to them. Oh, whatever. They don't care about us anyway. But when their own starts seeing that they're speaking out on it, it might make them listen. So we love this, you know, we bring up sometimes like white people have privilege. Realize you do have privilege. But how you use that privilege makes all the difference. Your voice is influential in certain areas. Use it. That's all I can say on that. I need our allies to be true allies. Allies get in the fight with you. Allies don't sit back and just cheer you on. Those are cheerleaders. I don't need cheerleaders. If you're an ally, be an ally. Jump in the fight with us. And that means arm in arm, hand in hand, heart in heart. Get out there, speak out, do what you do. Because I know they're out there. I know they're out there because we know them personally. We know some of the same ones personally. They love us as much as we love them, and I know they're allies. I need the rest of you to get out there and do your part. You know, we hate that we had to take a somber tone to the podcast today, but this is one of those things we have to address because it not only affected Miss Taylor's family in her area, in her state, this affects each and every one of us. Because if it's allowed to happen to her, it will be allowed to happen to one of us. Yeah. We've got to keep fighting the fight. But y'all remember, say her name. Don't stop saying her name. Court cases don't mean that this is forgotten about. $12 million doesn't mean it's forgotten about. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. Until next time, y'all.
Breonna Taylor. We're good. Cool.